a lot of new things happening at the University of San Diego, and that we have a relatively new president. He just celebrated his first year with us, Dr. James Harris. And when you have a new president, you have lots of new leadership at the university, it's often a time to kind of reflect and to launch into maybe some new directions. As often happens, there's a new strategic direction and a plan for really, universities are always, although we're kind of year to year in our recruitment cycle, we're always looking down the road, 10, 12, 15 years. What are we going to, what do we want to aspire to be? What kind of place do we want to become? What kind of experience do we want to provide for our students and those kind of things? So we, of course, have been going through that process, and a lot of really exciting initiatives have come as a result of that. And one in particular that I wanted to share with you is something that we're calling the Torero Promise. One of the things that Dr. Harris has really emphasized is that while USD, and we're a relatively young place, a lot of you know about USD, we were founded in 1949, our first class graduated in 51. We were the College for Men and the College for Women until 1972 when we merged together to become the University of San Diego. So by college and university standards, a pretty young history here, but certainly have become, I think, very much a national Catholic university, very much international. About almost 10% of our students are international. We draw students from all over the United States. But he wanted us to really, as we think about what kind of place do we think the university wants to be, in keeping with the vision of our founders, the Bishop Francis Buddy, who was the bishop at the time here in San Diego, and Mother Rosalie Hill of the Sacred Heart. They had this vision of the place, and we want to be true to that, but we also need to understand that we live in a very different world, and we need to be a contemporary Catholic university. And so one of the things that Dr. Harris has talked a lot about is how can we be a better, what he likes to call an anchor institution right here in San Diego. How can we really kind of further the connections and the support and our influence, if you will, right here in San Diego. And so all of us around the campus were charged with trying to think of ways that we could do that. And so from an enrollment perspective, we kind of took a look at, the number of students and the kind of students who typically come to USD from the local community. What kinds of things can we do to really solidify that? But one of the things that we were working on is a program to really reach out to the high schools in the diocese, of course, including this one. And so one of the proposals that we put forth that has been approved unanimously and enthusiastically, not only by people on campus, but also at the diocese, is to really offer what we call the Torero Promise, which is basically a guaranteed admission program for students who graduate from the schools here, certainly from Our Lady of Peace. Students who graduate with a certain grade point average, and that's going to be a GPA of about a 3.75. It'll be our GPA, so we calculate. One of the things you'll find as you go through this process, colleges often have a different way of looking at grade point averages than perhaps your school does. And that's just the way, because we deal with so many different high schools, we want to try to standardize the measurement that we're looking at when we're assessing and evaluating students. So we all go through a recalculation process over the years, and I'm sure the counseling staff here will agree. It doesn't differ too much from what your student's GPA is going to be here. But students who at the end of their junior year have a 3.75 GPA and who meet the application deadline at USD are going to be automatically admitted to the university. There'll also be some financial aid recognition along those lines as well for students. And we hope that that's one way that we can really create a very clear pathway for students, even as early as the 9th or 10th grade. If USD is a place that they think they'd like to go, they have a very, very easy and a very clear path of how they can go about doing that. So we're really excited. We're launching it right now. We have, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, we currently have about 30 applicants that we've evaluated. I think we have more than that, but about 30 students that we've reviewed, and more than half of them actually qualify through this Torero Promise. And this will be for St. Augustine High School, for Mater Dei, for Cathedral Catholic, and for Vincent Memorial High School. So it'll apply to all of those high schools. There's going to be an announcement, the bishop and our president and representatives of the diocese. We're going to have a nice luncheon, and the counselors here will be invited to that, as well as your principal, to kind of officially launch that in a couple of weeks. But I wanted to share that, and it's kind of part of, again, of this broader idea of USD trying to become what our president calls an anchor institution here in San Diego. How can we be more involved and engaged and encourage more of our students to pursue education at the University of San Diego? So I'll leave some time, and I'll certainly be happy to answer more questions about that if you have it. But it's an exciting announcement. You kind of get in on the early announcement of that. The first time I've publicly said that to anybody, so that's awesome. And I hope that that will do a lot to, again, kind of build that relationship, or further that relationship, I should say.